So what is the racial dynamic, the racial politics that we see when we talk about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton?
I'm not sure these candidates were actually prepared for young and brown and smart people to get up and say, hold up, your husband did this. Your history 20 years ago was that, not just to Clinton, but to any of the candidates that are out there.
And do you think that's because of a prevailing assumption among Democrats that
absolutely
they're okay and it's not
that
really
we've got
our
that
issue?
vote, we're good. We just need to go to Sylvia's and hit all the sort of the typical brown people stops.
And that's not new. I mean, that's
Right.
not new. Long held belief that Democrats are the hip ones, the ones that are in on it. They get it.
Does that suggest that some of it is actually sincere as opposed to sort of calculated and programmed? Like throwing out the word structural racism and maybe not fully understanding everything that means, or walking into an event that has a history one doesn't understand? Does that suggest that there's a genuine effort to connect that's not purely driven by polls? I mean, is this something to grasp onto?
That's I think, the $64,000 question. I mean, I really think clearly both, certainly on the Democratic side, Bernie and Hillary, I'm going to just call them by their first names.
We're all friends here,
have been very deliberate about staffing up, Their digital outreach campaign, Hillary's is Zerlina Maxwell, Bernie Sanders, press person is a black woman, Simone Sanders, no relation. So they've been very deliberate. That, I think, is calculated, for sure. Do they know and understand what that staffing, what that positioning means for the black women who are in those roles and for the black people who see them in those roles? No, I don't think so. And that is a function of not understanding or looking at or anticipating the pushback that you were talking about, Tanzina.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're seeing it too with some of the campaign techniques that they've tried. I know Hillary's Latino outreach did this campaign, Not My Abuela, or Not Your Abuela, or something like that, and that just got, people just took to Twitter and were like, hold up, this is no one's abuela. You're not my abuela, you're not her abuela. You can get it right, and then you can seem like you're Hispandering, which is a word that this blog, Latino Rebels, came up with a while ago, which is pandering to the Hispanic community, just for the sake of votes. So I think you have to be really careful. You have a very savvy, young, digitally connected, smart audience, and you can't pander, because they'll see right through it.
I would say that on the Democratic side, that you see them sort of playing two different games based on the voters of color that they're actually trying to reach out to and targeting. Hillary's, since we're using first name, that her game in targeting older voters of color is not getting it wrong, right? So what is it that I absolutely cannot say and do that would completely lose, you all support for me? I think that Bernie, given that his voters tend to be younger, including his voters of color, is trying to get it right. That there's a different bar, right? So you see him sort of failing up throughout the his candidacy, from the point at Netroots to now, where he's at some point refusing to answer questions and then taking on the language of social justice, answering questions at the Apollo about reparations and apologies for slavery. You don't see those same efforts being made on the Clinton camp side as much as you do checking off the boxes, right? So we need to have the rally at Clark Atlanta University. We need to get the photo op with Al Sharpton, be at Sylvia's. So they're playing a different game based on who they're actually targeting.
It's so interesting too, because historically speaking, I mean, Bernie Sanders is a civil rights activist, right? And Bill Clinton was given this kind of moniker as the first black president, which I never believed and never felt he was. I actually think Toni Morrison, was she the one who said that?
Yeah.
And I love my girl Toni so much, but that I did not support at all. But has sort of been given these accolades from whatever source, and then to come out at those young black activists in this way where he just puffed out his chest and wagged his finger and was like, look what we did for you. Why aren't you, turned on a dime like that was really extraordinary to me.
And that's what I think is falling flat with younger voters in particular. It's the sense that you owe us. And a lot of people are saying, actually, we don't owe you anything. And you look at the policies that were put in place that we were just talking about in the 90s, that affected young black and brown people of color. So there is this sort of sense that this is a legacy candidate. This is someone that should be, you know, they've tried the woman card a lot of times. This, you're a feminist, you should vote for Hillary. And that there was a huge backlash to that, right? Women are saying, actually, no, being a feminist means I can decide whoever I want to vote for, not necessarily the woman ticket. And so a lot of these old identity politics tropes, I think, are falling really flat with this young audience. In fact, I think you're seeing identity politics more among white voters than you are among voters of color.
We're also in sort of a movement moment where you see generations sort of kind of moving apart. I am really struck in following this conversation between sort of black millennials as a black millennial and the sort of old guard civil rights groups and figures who are really supporting the Clintons while the Black Lives Matter protesters and activists are really kind of like holding their feet to the fire. And I think that it sort of goes to experience, right? So we were talking about the 90s earlier and how Gen Xers and baby boomers experienced the 90s. So even though there were gains in the black community, let's say small businesses, employment, some income gains, that those are things that did not stay with the next generation. They were sort of short-term policies. But what did stay was mass incarceration. So when I think about, you know, what the Clintons gave my community, you know, the people that I know, my cousins, my friends, I think about the folks locked up in jail. I don't think about the businesses that came and went or the houses that were swept away with the recession, where, you know, my parents might look fondly on that period and say, oh, it'll be great to have them again.